So I'm back with another Earnings All-Stars video. You think it's over, right? Just because 6 out of the 7 Mag 7s have now reported earnings. But no, of course it's not. This is a very busy week for earnings, even though no Mag 7s. There's about 100 S&P 500 companies still to report this week. Plus, we're starting to get a lot of these smaller and mid-cap companies that are pouring in, a lot of consumer names I'm going to be watching, and I brought several of them with me here today. It was hard to pick out which stocks to cover this week. Several prominent names are going early this week, including Palantir. That's a favorite. We have Supermicro on the AI side reporting. And so I'm going to leave those for my Twitter feed. If you want to see more charts and some of these hot ones that are going off early in this week, then tune in to my Twitter feed. I'm just at Tracy Reinick. I'm also posting it on Blue Sky and on StockTwits, all under my name on any of those platforms. So make sure you're tuning in during earnings season to catch all of these great charts that I can't cover here, but I can cover these 5 stocks. These are some interesting ones. We kind of haven't covered a couple of them in a while. So let's dive right in and see what these are on tap for earnings this week. Okay, the first one is McDonald's. I know I used to cover this one a lot on the Earnings All-Stars, but then I kind of just took a break from it. And scrolling down on the quote page, you can see just the 2 misses here in the last couple of years, 4 overall over the 5-year period. That's not too bad because we saw the pandemic back here in 2020 and even into 2021. This is when the economy was just reopening here in 2021. So you can see that reflected in the chart here. And they did have a couple of misses back ending both of that period there. And then we had 2 last year, but they're back on track here last quarter with just barely 1.1% earnings beat. But the key thing to watch is really on this earnings side. And we do have some nice earnings growth expected here. That's the wide area in between each of these lines. We now have 2027 popping up on there too. Shares are not yet breaking out. So we'll see on this report if we can get back to those highs. It's a little stretched on forward PE at 24. And PEG is not cheap either. But if you scroll down, here on the sales and EPS growth rate chart, you'll see what I was talking about with earnings growth with that wide spacing in between there. It is at 4.7 this year, 8.1 for 2026. And then we have another pretty big space there for 2027, which is just not showing up on here yet. But that looks to be another year of nice earnings growth. What they're really watching on any of these restaurant stocks is same-store sales. A lot of the restaurant are reporting not so great on the same-store sales this last quarter because the consumer's pulling back a little bit. Comps are a little tough from last year. And so we'll see how that all figures out with McDonald's. It's got the value meal. Is it working? Are people still going there for value? We're going to find out. But this is one I'm definitely watching on the restaurant side this week. It's very busy on restaurants. Okay, we're going to kind of stick with the consumer because I mentioned that there's a lot of consumer names reporting this week, and we're going to go with Disney. I haven't talked about them in a while because the chart has not been good. They are Zacks number 2 now, and look at what's happening with the earnings. Looking better here. At least there's spacing in between. So maybe we're getting some earnings growth. Let's scroll down. Yes, we've gotten some nice earnings growth expected for this year, 16%. With 9.9 for 2026. They have turned it around on earnings, misses and surprises. No misses since 2023. There might have been some meets in there because the smaller the green arrow means a meet. This one's a little small. Nope, still a beat there. So looks like beats across this board. But what is happening at the parks? Are people still turning out? What's happening on the movie side, on streaming? These are a lot of components with Disney we're going to be watching, but this stock is owned by so many, so it's on the plate this week. So that's Disney, DIS. Then let's turn to tech because it's a big week for tech, even without the Mag 7s. And AppL is my choice. It's pretty volatile here, but look at its good earnings surprise track record. No misses going back to this one in 2023. So it's really turned it around in this period. It's got quite a nice streak going. Look at earnings up and to the right. So some nice earnings growth expected. The shares really sold off on Liberation Day. They have rebounded, but we've gotten a little mini pullback here again. Is this a buying opportunity right here in AppL? And look at this earnings growth expected for 2025, 85%. 2026, 44%. It's not cheap with a 45 PE, but I know you all are buying the growth. The growth is there for right now. So let's see what this stock does on this earnings report. But this is a big one from AppL, APP. Then I want to switch back over to the consumer quickly and e.l.f. Beauty. So this one's been a little bit off my radar recently, even though it's got a good earnings surprise track record. They finally missed here in early 2025. Only other miss in the 5-year period was back here at the, kind of still middle of the pandemic, as I just mentioned. So otherwise, they were killing it and beating and raising, but that ended 2 quarters ago. They did turn it around again last quarter with a 6.85% beat there. And yes, if you hover over those green arrows, you can see that what the beat or the miss was. Let's see, in the miss here, very small, just 2.6%. But look at the earnings estimates. They have come down from last year's bullishness. And then, will this turn around? We can see some turnaround starting to happen here in 2027. Now, this is showing some earnings growth here after the slowdown last year into the single digit earnings growth. And then this year, another single digit expected. 2027 right now, projecting a turnaround back up to about 22% on the earnings growth side. Not as expensive as it used to be because of this, the share pullback now at 31 times. Are you willing to pay that for e.l.f. Beauty and the beauty side? We're going to find out. This is a big one because beauty has weakened a bit, but is it's coming back? Is it going to hold up here into 2026 and the end of the year holiday season? So a lot going on with e.l.f. Beauty. E.l.f. is the ticker. And then we're switching back to one of the big, I want to call this an AI play because they're on the power generation side, Constellation Energy, CEG, nuclear power, and just power in general. You need it to run the data centers. And look at this stock, huge sell-off, Liberation Day sell-off. It's rebounded almost or right back to those all-time highs here. A bunch of beats in a row now. The last one, fairly small. No, it was a meet. See what happens when you hover over it. You still get the green arrow on a meet, but they just met that one. But a lot of these on the fairly smaller side because, they are just a utility after all. So, but you are still getting earnings growth. And 2025, 8.9. And then look at 2026 with a nice 25% earnings growth expected for next year. It's not cheap. It hasn't been for a while, 36 times on the earnings, but this is an AI play and we know how hot these have been. We're going to be watching Constellation Energy this week and, among many others. So again, this is a very busy week. We are getting Palantir, Super Micro, Airbnb, Monster Beverage, many others. And so be sure to tune in to get all of these charts on all the social media accounts. And I will be back next week with some more charts because earnings season is still going to roll on. It will be quieter next week, but we're still going to be getting a lot of these retail names and consumer names, and I'm going to be tuning in, so you should be too. So join me next week. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to get all of our videos and stock picks. Get it on Zacks.com/YouTube. And I'll see you on social media and back here on YouTube next week with some more earnings charts.